Hi, I'm Louis Paul. This is The Colors of Prog, Season 3, Episode 13. This Podbean, YouTube, and Facebook program is where I discuss progressive rock music, past, present, from all around the world. There, it's done. This time, a trio of live albums from Italian favorites. So, first, and some of these are going to be obscure. So, if you like what I'm discussing, this music, I'll give you some pointers of where to look, but some of these are kind of hard to track down. So first, Orme, live in Pennsylvania. Founded in Venice, Italy in 1966, Le Orme are considered by many to be one of the best Italian bands playing in the symphonic prog sound. Like Banco, PFM, and Neutrals, they have a very distinct sound. Very good singers, primarily singing in Italian, but though they do sing in English. And a dominant keyboard sound, bringing to mind the best of early Yes and even ELP at times. At its core, Leorme's best music can be attributed to Aldo Tagliapetra on vocals, bass and guitar, Tony Pagliuca, on keyboards, and Michi Di Rossi on percussion. Sorry for murdering the names. I've just been doing so much research lately. It's later in the day that I usually record these things. Folona and Sarona from 1973, a concept album about two planets, or gods if you will, who fall in love, is considered a masterpiece of progressive music. Although short at less than 40 minutes, it's so good you want more. It's quite a listen. Peter Hamel of Van de Graaff Generator was also a fan of Le Orme, and he was commissioned to write English language lyrics. So the band went into the studio and re-recorded Folona y Sarona, and they made an English language version that was released on the Charisma label. Much like the UK Manticore label tried to break PFM in the English-speaking market, so did Charisma try to break Le Orme, among other bands. Over the years, there have been a number of lineup changes, with Michi Di Rossi being the constant. By 2005, Aldo Michi and Michele Bohm on keyboards and Andrea Bassato on keyboards and violin took a rare trip to the United States to appear at the Progressive Rock Festival Nearfest in Pennsylvania. As someone else so eloquently described the appeal of Le Orme, it comes from the feminine and masculine sounds in their music. I think that's quite on point for that. It's much like early Genesis era Peter Gabriel material, or early Peter Gabriel Genesis material. The femme qualities come from the warm and mellow sounds of the singers and the quasi-classical keyboards. The masculine comes from, some say, bombastic or near or more powerful portions of the band's music. Prog rock indeed, right? This excellently recorded and sounding set includes 2 CDs and a DVD. Pardon me. So, the first CD includes selections from Infinito and then highlights from their early 70s output. Infinito was their 2004 release, so their most recent studio album prior to embarking on this visit to the US. Now, some of the music following Infinito includes some songs from Collage from 1971, Uma di Pezza from 72, and more recent recordings. I mean, these guys, they use choir mellotron, fat synths, duel with Aldo Tagliapetra's when he's playing a sitar. Where are you going to find this elsewhere? This is like great music. The second CD, remember I said there were two CDs, is a faithful and spirited recreation of Filona e Sorona in its entirety. And it's quite good. I mean, there are many followers of the band. Even though they're an Italian band, they have many followers worldwide. And I'm sure they just love to hear this played live. The DVD, stereo option only, also includes a tour diary of sorts among its extras, but it does include the entire 18-song set that's included on the two CDs, so it's a win situation. You get that cool Hammond sound keyboard coming through, the swirling Leslie. How cool is that? And Aldo's singing his lead vocals while he's playing a double neck bass and 6-string, or a bass and electric 12-string guitar. I mean, they weren't young when he recorded this. Guys, that's a big instrument, man. The audience is very appreciative, and I have to say, it's one of the best Italian progressive rock recordings in my collection, and that says a lot. So this was self-released by Le Orme, and it's quite terrific. Where can you get this now? For Time Symphonic Music, located in Utah, had this available. I've seen it on eBay for extortionist prices, but you could check Discogs as well. So there's that. Also, it comes with a nice little booklet with the lyrics, all in Italian, of course, but there's some brief notes in English. And it has the trickiest tray. To show you what I mean. Gotta love these European releases. So you have disc 1, disc 2 of the CDs, and the tray slides up to reveal the DVD, which think at first it's not in there, so you have to slide the disc up. It's nice little quirky packaging there. Again, it's one of my favorite live Italian releases, Italian music. So next I'm going to move on to Semiramis. Their one and lone, until now, studio album is called Dedicato ai Frasi, which is this, with the infamous cover. And it had it just as quirky, Hieronymus Bosch influence gatefold sleeve. That was 1973 debut, and so far they're their only studio album. The band was originally formed by a bunch of 15-year-olds, say about 71, 72, and 3 years after forming, Maurizio Zarillo on keyboards and vocals, Michele Zarillo on vocals and guitar, Giampiero Artigliani on guitars and synthesizers, and Paolo Forenza on percussion, with Marcello Guidinvoce on bass, were the young men who were in Semiramis. They released a lone album on the Italian independent Trident label. The bizarre artwork was, I believe, by a Britishman called Gordon Fagata. I believe he was British, or he may have been an expatriate living in Italy at the time. Semiramis named themselves after the Queen of Babylon, true, who with her husband, King Ninos, ruled all of Asia Minor and Mesopotamia. And frankly, the music is way ahead of its time for such a young band. I guess Trident was a young label at the time as well. And although their music is very progressive, it's almost art rock in a sense, but it's not harsh. I mean, it's very easy listening. I've been seeing comments across the internet where people said they didn't really like it, and then those who adore it say it's a one-off masterpiece. And I just think it's quite good. The keyboards are front and center as well as mature sounding vocals. Um, I have to say at times, Fraz, the album I just showed you, um, it's like a prog version of an early Gabriel Ever Genesis, there we are again, or maybe a touch of the hard rock keyboard driven prog associated with Atomic Rooster or even Deep Purple. The band does rock out. The record never really caught on and the label folded. It was reissued in 1989 on Vinyl Magic and then again in 2006 by BTF IT. Which brings me to the live album. Semiramis Fraz Live. This is from 2017. It's a it's a 1 CD and DVD set. It's a 2-disc set. Featuring the then current lineup of the sort of reunited band. Only Maurizio Zarillo on keyboards and vocals, and Paolo Fienza percussion, vocals, and Giampero Artignani guitars remain from the original lineup. Vino Ardito handles lead vocals, Ivo Mileto on bass, Rino Amato also on keyboards, and Antonio Trapani on additional guitars. Essentially is a live version of Dedicato e Fraz, with a 9-minute additional song titled More per Guardare, which is not on that album. And there's a bonus studio cut from the then current incarnation of the band called Mille Universi. Oddly, the performance features brief narration preceding each song by Giampero Artignani, oddly not listed as a band member in the credits included in the liner notes, although he's evidently playing acoustic guitar and doing narration, so I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe there was a fallout. The liner notes are in Italian and English. Unfortunately, there's no English language subtitle options to explain or translate the spoken narration. There's that. Michele Zarillo, besides having a successful solo career as a singer, remember he was a co-founder of Semiramis, he had 10 studio albums released in Italy and briefly joined Il Rovescio della Medaglia. In comparison with other Italian prog bands of the 70s, Semiramis can be more charitably compared to Banco or more so Asana, which, like those bands' lead singer, Asana Lino Veretti, apparently the earliest short-lived live performances from Semiramis also featured their young singer at the time performing in quasi-kabuki-like makeup, which is obviously influenced by the Japanese. And remember, early Genesis toured Italy often. It's said that this is where Peter Gabriel got the idea for the facial transformations via makeup. So, Semiramis Fraz Live. Again, Symphonic had this. I have seen it on Discogs. And it does come with a neat little liner note booklet. The DVD is interesting. It's not high def DVD, but it does show you how this band at the time works live. Now I understand some members of this band, this version of this band, have recently reunited with yet another lead singer, and they are recording a new studio album, which would be 73, the first time in many years that Semiramis are recording a studio album. It will be the second one ever. So that's coming up in the pipeline. Next we have, or lastly, PFM, or Premiata Funeria Marconi, 10 years live, 1971 to 81. They're calling it the official bootleg series. There you go. This is an astounding 4-disc box set released on the RTI music label in 1996. And it's pretty much something. I actually got this on eBay for a ridiculously low price of like, I believe, 15 USD, $15 USD. So, I mean, it's something to note. This comes with a Italian language only liner note booklet, but it does explain what's on each CD. This also has a very odd, tricky one CD beneath the other fold-out thing. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you just fold out to release this, and this one folds up to release another. So, where are we in this? So this primarily contains archival club shows from 71 and 72, that's disc 1, where PFM covered King Crimson, 21st Century Schizoid Man, Pictures of the City, and Jethro Tull, My God, BRA, as well, including tunes from their first album. And it reveals an excellent Mauro Pagani on flute and violin. At this time, Franco Masida, the guitarist, Flavio Promoli, the keyboard player, handled most of the vocals, where Franz Di Giocchio does a more than satisfactory interpretation of John Wetton on Schizoid. Mauro Pagani would do the Ian Anderson-like vocals on the Tull covers. And by all sounds of it, PFM were a very heavy band early on, sounding a lot like the symphonic, a lot less like the symphonic band they would become appreciated as. More psychedelic jam prog than anything else. I found this very surprising and enjoyable. Disc 2 documents the World Becomes the World tour of America, 1973 and 74, with Patrick Jeeves joining the band on bass. That album was released in the UK and the US by ELP's Manticore label, and of course in the US it was in the UK that they did an additional English language version of The World Becomes the World. I guess the idea of Manticore was that PFM was going to conquer America, which didn't happen. But it's interesting that Franz Di Giocchio was taking on more of the lead vocal duties beside drumming. The shows on this disc, which are disc 2, are from Boston, Cleveland, Ohio, and Central Park in New York City. I wonder if any listeners and watchers out there remember seeing PFM in Central Park. That must have been mind-blowing. They were also known to improvise quite a bit, so something like a tune called Cleveland Keyboard Jam is a lot of fun, although it cuts out a bit before what eventually would have been the ending of it. Oddly, although this was called The World Becomes the World Tour, disc 2 was almost entirely improv and full of mostly instrumental jams. Bernardo Lanzetti of Aquafragile joined the band as lead singer, and they recorded Chocolate Kings, an Italian and an English language version, also released on Manticore, for the market outside of Italy. It's something they had been doing on and off since photos of ghosts in the world became the world. Disc 3 is from more live shows. It's from the 1975-76 Italian tour. And we have 3 tunes from Storia di un Minuto, which was their first album. La Isla di Niente, and live renditions of various other stuff. Oddly enough, there's only 2 tracks featuring Lanzetti's singing vocals captured on Disc 3. Disc 4 contains music from Jet Lag, released in 77, and Passepartout from 78, that featured Lanzetti as vocalist. The Performance Tour from 80-81 is on here as well, but not without co-founder and drummer vocalist Franz Di Ciccio. Instead, that tour supported the ill-advised pop album Suone, 1980, and Come TV on Rion alla Città in 81. All these dates are from shows in Italy in 77, 78, and 81. Franz would return to PFM for Miss Baker in 1987, but the band would regain prominence when they returned to more prog-oriented roots in music for State of Imagination in 2006, Emotional Tattoos in 2017, and 2021's I Dreamed of Electric Sheep, influenced by Philip K. Dick. So, yeah, I've seen where people said, oh, sound quality is bootleg. Yes, it's called an official bootleg series, but it's not terrible bootleg quality. It's actually quite good. And knowing the time frame of disc 1 alone, 71, 72, and they're doing club dates, singing in English on half the songs, the cover songs. So they were definitely a cover band, which kind of blew my mind. Actually, they have a song where it's attributed to them, to PFM, where they incorporate 21st Century Schizoid Man. I've mentioned this in the past about PFM, and but they got away with it. If you like this band, if you like symphonic prog, they're one of the best. This does feature a lot of instrumentals and jams. So if you like to hear the stuff jam out, I mean, it's quite good. It's a lot of fun. Look around, eBay, Discogs. I don't believe any of the online sellers that primarily deal with prog music may have this, although it might be a bit pricey. But I recommend them all. But like I said, my favorite was the Orme, the Live in Pennsylvania one, which was this one. And if you are just getting into Italian prog, or were kind of interested, well, I don't want to buy all these albums, what does somebody recommend? Well, Semiramis is kind of an obscure band, known really pretty much to the hardcore prog people, and PFM everyone knows, but very few people know about this 4-disc box set. So if you're interested at all about melodic Italian prog music, I'd go for this, try to find this. Of course, there's many late Army studio albums and many PFM studio albums that anyone can recommend just by looking on places like Prog Archives and the like. But I recommend that. And so I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back soon.